Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie Nelson with Alternative to Med Center. And thank you for joining our mini webinar series on integrative holistic psychiatry and how the world of this integrative world of psychiatry is exploding and can help you. Joining us today is our star, one of our stars, Dr. Julia Britz. Dr. Britz specializes in neurochemistry and helps people on a very different level than what they've ever been helped before when it comes to mental health. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I love these things. So.
I do too. Just because I think the more educational things that are out there that people can get resources, the better the world is. And it's all about exposure. A lot of people, this is new to them. So when they find us, this is like a whole different way of looking at mental health for them. And so the goal is that we're going to produce this so that people will forever be able to kind of get introduced to your work in particular, and what we're doing here, what we're about. So one of the big pieces is functional medicine testing, and how is that applicable to mental health? Most people are used to saying they have this symptom, you get this diagnosis, and you get this medication.
Right. And so I typically, when I'm looking at labs, they're all, well, let's see here. Thyroid's a good example. So the ranges for the normal values, for example, TSH, right? Look at your TSH, it should be between this number and this number. That range, and actually for all the vitamins and minerals as well, created a really long time ago. Our food sources were different. Our soil was different in terms of nutritional value. How tall we were, everything was so different. So I don't think the values are really that relevant anymore. So also these values are meant to indicate when you're already sick, when you've been sick a while, you know? So when I'm looking at the functional values, I'm looking at the optimum, like where not just like, oh, you've reached this part, so now you're unhealthy. I'm looking at, okay, where's the healthiest we could be, you know? And that tells me, are we on our way there? Are we about to be getting, because I'd rather stop someone before they get something serious. You know what I'm saying? So that way I can say, oh, wow, you're subclinically hypothyroid at this point, not fully yet. So let's take it back. So you don't have to go on a hormone, you know, that kind of thing. So I look at hormones especially. I look at minerals, metals, organ balance, but especially amino acids. So it's easy for anyone to go, oh, I'm anxious, I probably need GABA. But that's just, I mean, it may or may not help, you know. I get to put 10 people with anxiety in a line and give them all GABA, and it'll work for 3 or 4 of them, you know?
Really?
Yeah, just because it depends what their levels were like before, you know? So I will look at amino acids and get a sense of, okay, which ones are elevated, which ones are low, how do they relate to each other, what neurotransmitters are going to be affected, or even the Krebs cycle, how's that going to get affected for energy? Or even the uriacic cycle, biopterin pathways. I can look at all these things, the amino acids, and find out, okay, what vitamins might be low because of that, or minerals or other cofactors, and get a sense of where this person's at mentally. And it takes the guesswork out of it, because for somebody who's really low in, say, alanine, that might present as anxiety for that person. And no one would ever guess that. They would just go, oh, that person just needs GABA because they're anxious, you know? So we got to look.
I think I've always been, I'm going to do some testing with you. I've always been so impressed by you. This rolls off of your tongue like it's normal. This is normal. You're a doctor. But the truth is that you'll start talking about this person's level being low in this area, which is a predisposition for an indication of psychosis, for instance. That is a whole new thing that most people have never heard of, that there's a direct correlation. And what do you mean? How can I get a test and have it be that I'm low in this, which would give me a predisposition for manic episodes?
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. Like people that are predisposed to mania. So say someone comes in and let's say they're a little wound up or elevated. It's not an illogical assumption to go, oh, let's give them some serine, some phosphatidylserine. It'll help calm them down. It's relaxing. But actually having high serine levels has been correlated with psychosis and mania. So, and that's because of the way it converts to threonine and glycine. So if you give somebody serine who's already manic, it could make it worse. So that's why I never look at supplements on as the whole like, oh, this one is good for that. This one is good for this. I don't think of it that way because that's sort of like I don't know how to put it, but that's how I can look at drugs. Like this
I was just going to say that's how they were already treated.
Right.
We were treated simply based on symptoms, but you're taking science into this equation.
Exactly. Because for somebody, it's more like, I don't know if that supplement or that supplement would be good for that certain thing. I just look at that person and go, oh, they have signs and symptoms of being deficient in these things. Their lab shows this. How does that mix together? What do we get? You know?
Right. Mm-hmm. This is the piece, most people, I think, when they get something back and you're going over that, probably gives them the most sense of peace in some regards, because there's maybe some indicators as to what really is going on behind the scenes. Oh, yeah.
And it can be really, it's like a relief to know, oh, okay, well, that's why. Like a lot of times, like I think another one I see a lot is copper anemia. I see that all the time.
That floors me, and I've never heard of anything of that name. When you said that, I was like, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I see it all
deficiency
the time. And it's really interesting because you'll see, they'll come in, they'll present like, oh, I'm tired, I'm pale, like I just, I'm bleeding more easily, like your classic anemia symptoms. But then you look and their iron looks fine, their transat looks fine. And then the next logical step is to look at the blood cells and you go, oh, the MCV, it looks kind of like a B12 deficiency. You give them B12, they don't get any better, And that's because low copper will do the same thing to the red blood cells as a B12 deficiency. So until you look at that, it gets missed all the time. But you need copper for the hemoglobin. Yeah, it's really cool.
I have never heard of that. So, I mean, where's copper found? What is it? Where is it? Where are we getting that from?
So it's a mineral. It's in some seafoods. Some people can actually get it just from using the copper cups, that way. Trying to think of what else has high levels of copper in it. I think oysters do, but I don't like to eat those. Yeah, but it's so crazy because some people I found they tend to, so copper and zinc have an inverse relationship. Okay. Generally, someone's going to be high in one, and that can also cause a copper deficiency is taking too much zinc.
Really?
Yeah. So if you take too much zinc for too long a period of time, because it stores up, it takes a while for it to come out. So that's why it can be tricky just to sort of guess and think, oh, I probably need the zinc because it's good for the B6. And
I can't wait to get my test done.
I know. It's so cool. Because, it's like your health horoscope.
Yes. But you really are taking it into a scientific realm. Mm-hmm. And, otherwise we're just like guessing, going, oh, this is supposed to be so good for me.
Yeah.
And instead you're actually, because like I take zinc and you take different things and you think, oh, this is so good.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a copper deficiency. I know I've heard you speak of that before, that other people that have come through the program have had that deficiency and you addressed it. So
yeah, and it's a big deal because you need copper for dopamine synthesis anyways.
Okay.
So it's really cool when you can kind of trace it all back down to just a few things that are maybe off,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this. She's, so this is a vital piece that we do here that many functional medicine doctors do. One problem I've ran into is that there are a lot of naturopaths that will try to delve into this when you're dealing with the medications that we deal with when we're trying to help people find alternatives. You really have to be educated as to what it is we're talking about. Mm-hmm. It is not just the normal everyday person that really understands, right? I mean,
yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
The medications can cause a lot of layers because, for example, let's say somebody anxious since they were a kid, PMS, and then sugar cravings, all that fun stuff. Go on a medication. Maybe it's just one, maybe birth control. The body will have compensatory mechanisms to deal with the deficiencies those drugs will cause. So every medication will deplete the body of something. That's just what they do. They have to. And so once that happens, the body will create a new normal or a new homeostasis. So when you try to take that drug away, the body doesn't have time to compensate back. So we have to support it, transition it back, and then also deal with what happened in the first place. That anxiety PMS picture is still there. You know? Our job is just to make it suck a lot less.
Right.
And to
support the body.
And to support the body in every way that we can. And it can be done in a very safe way. It can be done in a very tolerable way. You know?
Well, and that's the part that I always say, that it's not like taking sleeping medication. It's retraining, but it does happen. And, you know, our bodies are amazing when we give it the right ingredients to work with, basically. Yeah. So, and that's what she's all about. She's about the right ingredients and trying to help you. So the functional medicine piece is very vital for you to be able to come up with the right protocols to be able to help an individual. And without that, like you said, you're kind of left with just guessing.
Yeah. And I mean, we can make really good clinical assumptions a lot of times. And because there are some areas where like, this is a pretty good chance this is the answer. But for a lot of people, it's not that simple or straightforward. Right. And if we want to get past this whole like, oh, this might help you from a general perspective, if we want to get to the whole like, this will specifically help you, we really need to see what's going on.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Julia. You're brilliant.
Oh, my pleasure.
You are the next generation of doctors that are really going to crack people's codes. I always say that it's a beautiful thing when people are sitting across from someone that truly is just has a vested interest in helping people walk into wellness. And you are one of those people that are really healing a lot of people. And that's the best that we can always ask for when we go to a doctor, is having someone say, I don't know, but we're going to do everything in our power to figure this out. And we're going to do this test, and we're going to do this, and we're going to try. So it's beautiful what you're doing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for participating in Alternative to Meds webinar series. I hope you found this educational. If you'd like to learn further about our program or speak to an individual who can further educate you on how we're able to help you, please click on the link below or call our 800 line, and we'll be happy to further educate you.